What is up, Clemson Nation, guys? Week 2, Tigers roll 52-13 over the mighty South Carolina State Bulldogs. Good effort by the band put in by the Bulldogs. Not as good as the 2008 effort, in my opinion, but it was still a good effort. Team, not so much. In other news, the fungus that went around the Georgia players last week, unfortunately spread to the South Carolina Gamecocks team. We gave a vaccination to all the Bulldog players last week after the game, but apparently, probably, who knows, coaching staff, something like that, they still managed to get away with it, and I guess it spread through some of Athens, got to the South Carolina players. It was not a good scene. It was probably one of the worst cases of it that anybody's seen yet. It spread all the way. You could see even Spurrier had it. He didn't even throw his visor when he was upset. Obviously something wrong there. And it got all the way to their brains. You know what this thing does? It destroys you from the inside out. And it makes you turn on each other. You could see that as clear as day on national television, and it wasn't a good sight. It was not something that kids at home should be watching. Fortunately, they got off the air as quickly as they could. But Steve, you probably need to get that vaccination over there to y'all's players and to y'all's coaching staff and stuff, because the side effects of that are, as everybody knows, a mediocre season. All right. In other news, the Miami Hurricanes upset the Florida Gators. Congratulations. I mean, I didn't get to see it, obviously, because the Clemson game was going on at the same time. But apparently it was just like the Georgia-Florida game last year, just an ugly game that the team with the least mistakes came out on top, and that's what happened. Let's see what else happened in college football. Virginia, who obviously we play later this year, got absolutely destroyed. And Oregon's looking better and better. And teams like Texas and Southern Cal looking worse and worse. And as far as the Georgia win, in all seriousness, it was, from a business standpoint, very good for Clemson. It solidifies us as a top 5 team right now, which of course doesn't matter at this point in the season, but you still want to be as highly ranked as you can the whole season, because if it comes down to 2 or 3 undefeated teams, whoever was ranked higher for most of the season, most of the time, gets that spot in. Let's see. As far as the game went, Tajh Boyd, he didn't play to his standard in this game. Looked a little bit uninterested. He didn't hit his targets most of the time he was in. He obviously put in some effort, with that touchdown dive and all that. But he's going to have to get his accuracy up. And it's like a scrimmage. I'm not taking too much from it. Cole Stout, on the other hand, 95% completion rating. 19 of 23 touchdowns. It'll be interesting next year, to see who replaces Tajh. It'll come down to, looks like it's going to be Stout, and then you got Chad Kelly, Deshaun Watson coming in. So it'll definitely be an interesting race before we play at Georgia next year. Running backs looked pretty good. No surprise there. We are deep at that position, even with the injuries to people like Tyshawn Dye. Wide receivers, so many wide receivers that can play. I mean, so many different wide receivers caught passes, so many different wide receivers caught touchdowns yesterday. Sharon Peak and Martavis Bryant looked like they were over the drop thing they had going on against Georgia. Let's see what else. I mean, defense, can't take much. It was South Carolina State. 2 pick sixes, though. That was good to see. And we have North Carolina State bye this week, which I hate the byes this early in the season. But we got a bye this week, and then we got at NC State next week, who everybody knows, North Carolina State. It's going to be on Thursday, too. North Carolina State has beat they've beat the ACC champion the past 2 straight years. And they were both top 10 teams. Number 7 Clemson in 2011 beat us down, and then they escaped number 3 Florida State last year. So as mediocre as they've been the last 2 years, obviously you cannot overlook this team when playing at home against the top teams in the conference. So it's definitely a trap game, and we got a lot of those this year, but we got to take it one game at a time. I mean, obviously there's nobody to overlook at this point anyway right now, so you might as well come in fully focused for this game. Tigers move up to number 3 in the polls. Obviously, like I said, doesn't mean anything at this point, but it's still good. It's still good, and we'll see what happens. I'll have a video out for NC State next week. Go Tigers!